Intuitive Thoughts for March 21st, 2025. I'm not going to lie, this is take 4. Between being itchy and me saying words that I probably shouldn't have said and not realizing it until I was hearing it back. It's been quite the morning already. We are facing a new energy. There is a brand new energy. This is not something I'm familiar with. It feels almost as if like the top layer of something was scraped off or lifted off, and what was exposed is this chaotic bouncing around kind of thing. My cats were off the wall last night. We're talking crazy. They were biting our feet. They were climbing on top of us while we slept. There was no reason for it. They had food. There was no reason for it. They were psycho last night. So, I'm not sure what's causing that. I started feeling it around 7 o'clock last night. It started with a high pitched ringing in both of my ears, which is weird because usually it's one ear or the other, but it was both ears. I even told Nina that I heard that last night because I was messaging her last night. Nina, the witchy healer, I love her. But anyways, we both had a feeling that there may be a train situation involved, that there may be a train thing that goes on, which made me anxious. Actually, I had seen it earlier because she had mentioned, she had commented on my post about my intuitive thoughts the other day, where I'd mentioned the sound of silence, and she quoted the line where it was the prophets written on the subway walls, where you're watching the trains go by, and then instantly I saw trains in my head, and then I felt this uncomfortable, like eek kind of energy, like this screeching type sound and energy. And it made me uncomfortable because my son is actually coming home from New York City today. So, but then I tapped into that. I don't necessarily think it's New York City. I tried to look across the country, maybe slowed down around the Chicago area, but it may be in another part of the country, part of the world. There's going to be a train thing. I think so. I really think there's going to be a train thing. Last night's dreams uncovered that there's going to be mass food spoilage. Mass food spoilage. We're talking lots and lots of waste. And it's just wasted. It's not distributed. It's not given away at a lower price. It's just wasted. And I think that's going to hit the news. And it's funny because in my dream, it started with milk products and cheese type things, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, seeing as cheese is aged and spoiled. I mean, that's kind of what cheese is. When I used to work at the food bazaar for the grocery store, we used to just scrape off the top layer of mold and repackage the cheese. So but it was cheese and it was green, and I saw grains and it was green, and mold and mildew, and there were bugs, and everything was just spoiled and wasted. That's going to be a thing. I also saw something where it had to do, the context of the dream is, you have to just wrap your head around this, is kind of like telling a story. That there was, it was like a baking, a baking situation. We were all baking in the kitchen, and we were measuring and trying to make these cookies. And no, 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 let the old people in. They don't even measure. They don't measure anymore. They already know what they need to put in it. And they were literally just taking spoonfuls of things and throwing them in a bowl, mixing it up, and said, here, there's your cookies. Trust me, it's perfect. I know what I'm doing. And I was like, well, but you missed. No, 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 no. I know what I'm doing. You don't need to follow those recipes. Trust me, I'm the expert. I know what I'm doing. And the cookies tasted awful. And then we realized that they were also taking these cookies and putting them in the oven with the frosting on before they were even cooked. And we're like, no, that's not how that works. You don't do that. And it was ruining the oven because the frosting was melting and getting all over everything. And we were like, no, you're doing it wrong. You have to follow the directions. There's a reason why the directions and the order of the directions are in place. You can't just come in and make up your own rules and think because you're older that you know better. Like, that's not a thing. And it was like, and it was weird because it kind of got to a point where it was like a bigger situation, where it started off as this one little row in this kitchen that I was in. And it ended up being like spreading. It was like going to like this culinary school, and then it was going to like kitchens all across America, and it was becoming this like big thing that all of a sudden people just started only listening to the people who didn't follow the directions and didn't use recipes, but nothing was good and everything was getting ruined and the ovens were being ruined. And we were all sitting there like, that is such a waste. It's a waste of ingredients. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of ovens. You're ruining the ovens. And this is not how things are supposed to be. I think you all get the point. I think you get what I'm getting at. I knew what it meant as soon as I woke up. I think that just, there's people that are willing to taste these god awful cookies. Another thing that happened is very early this morning, probably around 5 or so, I woke up out of a sound sleep because I heard pew pew. And I heard it several times. And I even asked my husband, see, I'm getting itchy. I asked him, I said, did you hear that? And he was like, no. And I was like, you didn't hear that. And then I heard it again. I was like, did you hear that? And he's like, no. And I told him what it was that I heard, and that they were shots, and they were loud to me, and it sounded like it was right outside of our house. I couldn't believe that he couldn't hear it. And it wasn't a backfiring vehicle. There were no cars coming by. I live in the woods, so I would know if there's a car coming by. And it wasn't far off in the distance. Like sometimes we'll hear people who try to scare away raccoons and other animals, and it wasn't that. It was close. It was close to me. And so there's that. I'm going to put that out there. I live in Connecticut. So yeah, that's kind of a touchy thing for me. And we'll see what happens with that. That bumpy energy that I told you earlier in the week, that I felt like we were going to hit some turbulence, but that the week was going to land just fine. I think we're landing. I think we're landing just fine. I just kind of feel like that wave of up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. We all know where the turbulence has been because it's been kind of obvious. But I think some of that calms down starting today. I don't feel like it totally lands until Monday. Because I do think that there's still some weirdness that might happen over the weekend. So I don't think it's going to end on a weekday. But I do feel like it's starting to come down, it's starting to level out and come down a little bit. And so I may end up doing a part 2 because I know there's more that happened last night. I just can't remember it now, and I'm already at 8 minutes. So a little bit later on, when I remember things a little bit better, I'll come back for part 2.